guys, it's Brandy with Brandy Burrow Astrology, back with Ellie Adams from Saturn Season Astrology and YouTube channel Let's F with Astrology. Ellie, thank you for joining me again.
Thank you for having me.
We're doing the Forensic Astrology about Laci Peterson's murder, such a famous case from 2002.
Yes. Yeah. And I remember, like, this is a case that I vividly remember, like, being all over the media, everywhere. Yeah.
Yes. I remember at the time when it went to trial, finally, I was actually a stay-at-home mom at that point, and I got to watch court TV like every day. And so when we went back, so I remember like following it, like just intently and like keeping up with it and hearing the verdict. And then when we decided to do the Forensic Astrology, it just kind of brought back so many memories of watching all that and how crazy it was.
Yeah. Yeah. And I wasn't a parent at that point. I bet being a parent at that time, it was kind of added an extra, like, something or another, since this case is so, like, awful, just awful.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I made it like I mean, it's just an infuriating crime. Being a mom to a toddler, it was just, actually my son was 4 months old when she went missing, and yeah, I just couldn't understand it.
Yeah, people people like that guy are gonna say, if there is a hell to burn in.
Yeah, let's just like put our disclosure up front.
Sorry, I probably
Ellie, I'm gonna speak for Ellie here because I just feel like I know her opinion here. Like, we feel like they got the right guy. We are not on the there's no way he could have done it side. So like, if you're like one of these people who think Scott Peterson didn't do it, I don't know how much you'll enjoy this episode. So,
and sorry, I mean, that what I just said may have been offensive. Sorry.
Here's the thing. Me and Ellie, we got the Gemini Sagittarius mixture here. Like, we just kind of say it like it is. Like, so just bear with us here. So Laci Peterson disappears December 24th, 2002. How do I even want to like preface the story? Like, Scott Peterson says she's at home when he leaves to go fishing. He comes back, she's not there. Meanwhile, neighbors found their dog running around with a leash attached, and it goes from there.
Yeah, and the last time that she was, well, he claims he saw her at 9:30 in the morning on December 24th, correct?
Correct.
But I know you don't. I don't believe what the fuck he says. So we'll go with the last more verified time of talking to her mom at 8:30 on December 23rd.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is, since we know there's been lies from Scott Peterson in the timeline, 8:30 p.m. the night before when her mom talks to her on the phone is very credible. And I believe the very last time anyone outside Laci and the killer talk with her. So.
Yeah.
Well, let's share that chart. All right. Do you see that? 8:30?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. There we go. So, the beginning of a crime, the birth chart of a crime. We got Leo representing Laci because it's the ascendant. So she'll be represented by the sun in Capricorn in the 5th house of children. Such an appropriate marker for pregnant woman.
Yeah, it is. And even having the moon right near the ascendant also feels rather fitting too.
Very motherly, nurturing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And at this point, she seems like she's probably enjoying herself in the 5th house, or just, like chilling, whatever, Yeah.
Excited for that child, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because from what I understand, she had a hard time conceiving, and it was a big, long journey to conceive, and very much looking forward to welcoming a baby. Was only I believe, a month and a half, 2 months away from giving birth.
Yeah. It was close.
Yeah. And then we got the killer / Scott Peterson, represented by the 7th house in Aquarius. So we will look at Saturn and Gemini for him, and also the modern ruler Uranus in Aquarius right there in the 7th house.
Yeah. Yeah, that definitely. Well, they both stand out to me, especially as y'all see in the other charts. The 11th house is something that kind of the rulership of the 7th to the 11th is.
It follows him. Yes.
Yeah, it does. And this can, in these kinds of charts, this can be like, if you slip the chart right, the 7th, it becomes like the 5th from the 7th, or if you turn I'm going to say this confusing. if you turn it to where the 7th house becomes the 1st house, the 11th house will become the 5th house.
Yes.
So that's like the pleasure house, the
perpetrator's house of pleasure, fun. This is where we find early relationships, like when you first meet people and are dating. It falls in the house.
Yeah, I think this totally points to his extracurricular activities.
Yes, which apparently he had.
Yes.
More than one occasion.
Yeah.
Saturn and Gemini there. And yeah, and then we also see the moon, so that's representing Laci and child, and it's making exact opposition to the perpetrator.
Yeah, which that feels like sudden.
It feels sudden, and interestingly, both parties are on their own turf.
Yeah. Yes, they are.
Yeah. Uranus does feel sudden. Sorry. Another thing too is you have Mars and Venus conjunct right there on the 4th house cusp. So Mars is also kind of quick, and it's in a strong sign of Scorpio, and the sign of death as well.
Yeah, and then that Venus, yeah. Yeah.
And Pluto in the 4th. Just the last episode we were recording when we did the Anna Walsh, weren't we seeing Pluto in the 4th there?
Yes, we were.
And we were connecting that to kind of something common you see with domestic violence, or, it can mean other things, but in this case, I think that definitely points to domestic.
I think so too, especially being in the same house with that Mars Venus thing, like in the home, like in the house of home, like, yeah.
The Mars Venus bothers me because, and of course, we know now it came out at the time that Scott Peterson was seeing another woman, Amber Fry, and that combination in this specific chart and crime, to me, just screams like outside affair. You got Venus in the detriment right there with Mars in the 4th house of endings.
Yeah.
And you got Uranus representing Scott. Like, I don't think he liked being tied down.
Yeah, I don't think he did either in its own. Yeah, I don't think he did either.
Not a good excuse, by the way.
No, not at all. Not at all.
So a lot going on in this chart. One thing that really, probably one of the first things that stood out to me about this chart too, is the rulership of the 5th house for the child. Jupiter right there in the 12th, close to the ascendant, close to Laci. They're like this, of course.
Yeah. There's something both kind of sweet and sad about that at the same time. And even with the moon being right there too, it's
yeah. And interesting, I'm just now putting this together. Jupiter and the moon only about 7-8 degrees apart.
Mhm.
You know, in horror, you can time things out. That would mean maybe 7-8 weeks from delivery, which kind of puts at the timeline.
I think that's actually pretty. No, I feel like that might have been. Well, I won't screw around looking for that. I feel like that's pretty close to what I remember reading.
Yeah. So that's interesting. You know, just is so every time I do the astrology on these things, it just blows my mind how literal astrology is, how the sky will always reflect what's going on there, even with timing sometimes. So
Yeah.
very interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So yeah, and then you got, you know, Laci as the sun, you have Scott also as Saturn. They're not by degree, but pretty well, kind of within 7-8 degrees there too, if I'm doing my math right, top of my
Yeah.
head. They're Saturn and the sun opposing each other outside the signs, but within orb.
And I also think it's, you know, I mean, I realize obviously at the time this happened, the sun, I do think it's interesting that she's Capricorn here. Like, could he have perceived her as some kind of, you know, like a authority? You know what I mean? Do you know what I'm trying to say? Like, I'm not saying she was like an authoritarian. I don't mean it like that, but he could have seen her like that, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, she is in his sign of Capricorn, you know, Saturn sign. That is interesting. Yeah, you know what's sad is, to me, that really makes me think she really trusted him. And as far as like in the relationship, I know he had a history of not being faithful, and I think they had dealt with that. But you know, being that the sun is in Capricorn in his sign, really makes me think she trusted him.
Yeah.
Probably like at least her safety, you know.
Yeah. She probably did.
Yeah. And then you got the 8th house ruler. We got 8th house in Pisces, the ruler of Jupiter in the 12th house too. Yeah, this chart just not going the right direction here. Things are lining up.
It hasn't happened at this point, but it's like, yeah, the wheels are turning.
Wheels are turning. So this is last time anyone spoke with her outside the home. The next morning, Scott says he sees her at 9:30. His phone actually pings leaving the house at 10:08 a.m. So which chart should we go with?
Do the 1008 one. Okay.
And I'm just finding it so I can see it here. There we go. Can you fully see it?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So this is 10:08 a.m., December 24th, 2002, when his phone pings leaving the house. And yeah, things are flip-flopped here.
They are. Yeah, they are. You have Uranus in the first house now, Aquarius rising. You also have let's see, where is Saturn in this one again? Oh, it's in the 5th. Okay.
In the 5th, yeah, they trade places. You know, and this time the 8th house of death is ruled by Venus because it's in Libra. Ruled by that Venus right there with Mars in the 9th house. Here's what I find interesting about that, because in criminal forensic astrology, 9th house placements can many times lead you to a body of water, like lakes, maybe oceans. And her body was found 4 months later in the San Francisco Bay Area. It washed up ashore.
So that definitely fits with this for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So now the moon has changed signs here. So
Into
to me, that's a
Virgo.
big indication, like it's already happened because that moon was in
Yes.
Leo before, what, at 25 degrees, and now it's like it's switched signs. Like there's kind of like a new energy here, kind of something different happening.
Yes. It's also intercepted,
It is.
which adds even more like a whole other like flavor.
And it's in Mercury sign. So
Yes.
if he's leaving the house with her body in a car, that's where Mercury comes into play.
And Mercury is in the 12th.
So I'm wondering, because I feel like she's dead at this point.
Yeah, I do too.
8:30, we know she's not dead because she's on the phone the night before. But you had the moon getting in late degrees. I'm wondering if this happened when that moon was at the 29-degree mark, that anoretic degree.
It could have. It could have. What time would that have been? Would that been around like, I don't know,
I can tell you while you guys are looking at that, I will.
maybe 2 or so in the morning? 3 in the
I was
morning?
thinking it 2:30 a.m.
2:30 a.m.
Apparently she was on the phone, I think a couple hours. I was trying to remember that what I was reading on Wikipedia, the timeline was like 8:30 to 10:30. And Scott Peterson says they went and turned on a movie. So like they were staying up late. It wasn't like she got off the phone and went to bed. So they could have very well been up at 2 a.m.
Yeah, if they were up watching, yeah. That's possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's my theory, just from I just know a lot of crimes happen when that moon is at that,
Degree.
Yeah, just because it's such an intense degree and it's like finishing up business. And then we have where he's leaving the house with her and the moon's already gone into Virgo. So it's like, that's just my theory.
I could see that. I could see that.
Yeah.
So you have the in this chart you have, and I know I mentioned this, it's like you've got the ruler of the 4th house. Gemini's on the cusp of the 4th house. You have Mercury in the 12th. Gemini's also on the cusp of the 5th house. Mercury in the 12th. And it's interesting because like, okay, like and I know we've talked about this before, like taking like a traditional, like the 4th house is always the mother.
Mm-hmm.
I know that like I don't really take that kind of strict approach with it. I feel like you can see either parent, you know what I mean? And sometimes it's the mother, sometimes it's the father, whatever. Anyway,
It can vary.
like,
Yeah.
I don't need to go into a long, but anyway, since it can represent like the mother, right? The 4th house can, and the 5th house is like children. I do think that it's interesting that that they both have Gemini on the cusp here, and then Mercury in the 12th.
Another indication they're together.
Yes.
Yeah. Because there are some conspiracy theories out there, like because the baby who was named Connor was found first. He not to trying to be sensitive, but what happened? The baby washed up to shore first without Laci, and he was in pretty
he was intact.
shape. Yeah, he was very intact, seeing as the crime happened 4 months prior. So, and there were some people were saying, well, was he born alive? In fact, the defense tried to use that when they were questioning the medical examiner. The medical examiner said, well, I can't for sure say he was born alive or not, but everything kind of looked like he wasn't because he was so intact, meaning he would have been inside the mother's body underwater. And so this is a good indication because we're seeing these in the charts that they're together. So I don't think that baby was born alive.
I don't think so either. I think he was probably just protected by her body, and then as because from what I understand, the decomposition with her body was
more
quite
yeah.
Yes. And her body probably protected him until it couldn't anymore is my guess.
Exactly. And if anyone doesn't know, her body washed up the next day and it was just the torso. Yeah, they never found other parts. So it was more severely decomposed. But yeah, and so the theory is he washed, as she was washing up the shore, the baby was released from that torso. Sorry to get graphic there.
Yeah. No, I mean, Yeah, it's a hard thing to talk about. But
Yeah. What do you think about that Pluto and the angular house in the 10th house?
mm, oh, Pluto.
I know, sorry, I don't put you on the spot. I just like I'm looking at that and I'm like, that's a pretty strong Pluto in the 10th house of police, media, how the outside world is seeing this, how it's
Well,
looked at.
I mean, this kind of makes sense because this was a case that people did have intense feelings about.
Yeah.
I mean, it is
From the beginning.
intense. Yeah, intense opinions. We are talking about Sagittarius. We have our opinions.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there is a, yeah, it's intense. It feels very intense.
It is. It's very, very strong emotions emotional attachment to this case. I feel like we all kind of like, but yeah, that's definitely interesting. And then there's this other chart. Is there anything else you wanted to look at on this before I switch?
No, but you can go ahead. If something comes to mind,
We'll just go back to it.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to pull up this 1030. This is the time that neighbors report finding their dog. Sorry, if you see my mouse going everywhere, I'm trying to actually find the chart where I can see it on my screen. There we go. 1030. Neighbors report finding their dog running around the neighborhood. Pretty similar chart, except Venus Mars conjunction is now in the 8th house.
It is, which feels more not good.
Not good. And I think it supports the theory that the dog was staged versus abduction, because it was made to look like she was walking the dog and got abducted. But this is like, no, we got some death stuff going on here. Like, this just makes me think.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
That was the biggest thing I got from this chart.
And the 7th house ruler in the 11th. I think it was in the other one too, I believe, but still have that 11th house.
Yeah, and Uranus is now in the 12th house. Was it on the other? Yeah. So it's, things not good there.
No, they're not. They are not.
So there
and Saturn.
Go. Yeah,
Saturn in the 4th in this one.
Everything has moved to the death houses, the 4th, 8th, and 12th.
Yep. Yeah. I'm gonna I don't know, I'm gonna bite my tongue with that one. Keep going.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm gonna bite my tongue with that one.
Okay. Now, do we want to look at any fixed stars with these charts?
Sure.
Okay. Let's go back to the 831 because I just lost it. Bear with me, guys. I actually have their natal charts as well.
You've got yeah.
Yeah, bear with me for just a moment. I'm going to find this other chart. So tell me more about this. Okay. Do you want to share kind of like your theory? I love this. I'm sorry. I just put you on the spot. Like, to me, this makes sense.
Okay, let me preface this by saying when I read charts, like natal charts, right? Or even look at these kind of charts. Doesn't happen every time, but sometimes I'll be looking at a chart and I'll get like a fucking word that'll come across my mind, or a song lyric sometimes, or I'll see things in like pictures, right? Now, when I read for a natal chart, when I do a natal chart reading, I will put in there what I see, or whatever, or tell them what comes through, but I make it known that this is like whatever's coming to me, and I'm not, it came through and I felt like it was for the person. I try not to do this. I try not to do this so much with this kind of stuff, just because I don't want anybody thinking that I'm saying that I'm like I'm not claiming to be psychic here, but I do get things that come through sometimes. And with this, I have this, it's like I feel like, well, I do think this was premeditated. Like, I do think there are things in the case where it's clearly premeditated, like the cement things concrete things he was making, and it was clearly premeditated. But I feel like the time, especially with like Uranus, where it is in the chart, in the eighth, I don't know that he was planning on doing it at this exact time.
Mm-hmm.
And I had this thing come through, like this, it's like a tone from like a phone.
Mm-hmm.
He's not in the room. I don't know where the hell he is, what the hell he's doing. She's in the room by her, or some room by herself, and she hears like a tone from a phone. And it's not a tone from a phone that maybe she recognizes. And I'm wondering if it could have been like, I don't know, like you could set your phone to have different sorts of tones for different people, or maybe it was a different phone altogether when he was caught with his hair that was supposedly bleached from a chlorine pool, 12 Viagra pills.
Sorry.
He also had 4 fucking cell phones.
I have to laugh at that one every time. My hair is blonde, is strawberry blonde because I was in a chlorinated pool.
Yeah, it's all ridiculous. I mean, it's ridiculous. Absolutely, it is ridiculous. But but he had like 4 fucking phones with him. So I mean, I don't know. It could have been another phone that he had. I don't know, but I get this feeling that she heard something that kind of tipped her off and kind of set it all in motion. Like she maybe confronted him then, and then
he's caught.
Yes. And because he's been caught before, and he clearly, there are things in this case where he was clearly wanting to, it seems like he had at least thought about doing this, seriously thought about doing this anyway.
And I feel like the astrology supports that theory in a sense, because you got that 3rd house in Libra ruling music,
mm-hmm.
also ruling relationships, 3rd house being phone communication.
Yeah. Okay, well, maybe my shit that comes through isn't totally like, where'd that come from?
I know, but you can't help but to be intuitive when you're in this line of work.
Yeah, with this stuff specific, and I know, like I said, like with natal chart readings, I'm all over it. Like I'll be like, yo, this lyric came across my mind. I don't know if this means anything to you. I don't know if maybe you need to listen to the song. I don't know, but but with this kind of stuff, I try to, no, shut up, quit
try to separate it.
Yeah, it's like, no, quit trying to tell me that right now, or quit,
I get that. I mean, I'm a psychic medium, and people ask all the time, do you combine that with the astrology? And I'm like, no. I mean, because I try to look at this scientifically. I know I consider astrology as science, but
it absolutely is. It's a cool thing in the sense that it kind of can bridge the worlds.
Yeah.
The science and that. But no, I'm like you. I really try to, okay, let me stay focused here on what's in front of me, but then I'm thinking about tones and shit, and I'm like, I can't not, like, so I was like, oh, I can't not say this to you because I'm, yeah.
I love it. I appreciate you sharing it, because I found it fascinating, especially with that 3rd house.
Yeah, I see what you're, yeah.
Fixed stars. So I want to look at what's going on with her ruler. Okay, so Laci is the sun, 2 degrees Capricorn. We got a fixed star at 3 degrees here. Polis. Okay. It's my turn.
Okay.
Polis. And don't leave a comment about how I don't know how to pronounce things. These are old names, and I just don't. Okay. All right. So it's marital desires, high ambitions, domination. You brought that up earlier. Success. That's for Laci. Now, Scott, if we look at the traditional ruler is Saturn for Aquarius at 25 degrees Gemini. We got a fixed star at 24 degrees Gemini. It says honors, wealth, power, greed, and aggression.
Okay. Okay.
So we have her in this marital stuff. Like, that sounds pretty good. And we have him in the aggression.
Yeah.
I'm curious if there's anything for Uranus. Let's see. Interesting.
What?
So 24 degrees and 50 minutes of Aquarius, pretty close to 25 degrees Aquarius there for Peterson. Love of water, swimming. So
that's interesting.
That is interesting since he's going out the next day to, when she goes missing, he's at the bay fishing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you want me to do the moon?
Yes.
Is there one for the moon?
I think I looked. I already forgot. Let's see.
Well, there's one at
24.
Mm-hmm.
Strength, plunder, swagger, yet simple and without guilt.
What does that mean?
I don't know. I don't even know how to say it.
I don't know what that word means. Sad. I'm like, I don't even.
We know astrology, not like dictionary terms here. So, okay. So we got some fixed stars lining up with the sun, Uranus, Saturn that indicate water, aggression, and marriage goals. Like it's.
What about the ascendant? Was there one for the
at the 18? I looked at that. There is a fixed star at 19 degrees Leo.
Okay.
Restrained, mistrustful, self-controlled, but angry when roused. Love of command, power to achieve good with animals. So restrained, mistrustful. That also might support that theory. Something triggered or something tripped her off.
Yeah.
Hey, something's going on.
Like remaining self-controlled until something.
They could have been watching that movie and
if I found out something.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was gonna say I would be real pissed if if I found something like that out was going on and it had already gone on before, and then that would definitely arouse anger in me too. I wouldn't blame them.
Something had, especially with Uranus, something had to just be like explosive all of a sudden, like sitting there watching a movie and hearing a text come through, or like who's texting you at 1 a.m.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm kind of going off here, but I'm curious if that's anything like that is in police reports, or like is there phone activity?
That I don't know.
I don't either. And I don't remember that coming up in a trial, but still, I just wonder if, or maybe something was found, receipts or something.
Yeah, it could have been. For some reason, the tone thing kept coming to like a phone tone, but it could have.
But that makes sense to me because it could have been it. You're having a relaxing evening, and Uranus is here or something. That would make the most sense to me.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good theory. Do we want to look at birth charts?
We can look at what about the map too?
Oh, the map. Yes. Ellie's had to remind me of the map like twice. I keep forgetting. Yes. Here's the map. Okay. So Modesto, this is actual pinpoint of the house they were in. And then this is Berkeley Marina.
That's where I don't know if that was, I'm not totally clear if that was his marina or if that was just the marina that he kept going to on the 24th. I'm not totally clear about that, but that is where he was going on December 24th.
Yes, and that's very, very close to where the bodies washed ashore too. It's like 1 degree off. So yeah. And if you follow the line from their house here, it's at 281/282 degrees, which if you're mapping, we'll go back to a chart here to show you. If you're mapping, that is Capricorn at about 12 degrees-ish, 11 to 12 degrees. That's because Capricorn's 270, and then you're going to add, you know, the extra 11, 12 degrees. So you're looking at 11, 12 degrees Capricorn. So close to Chiron.
It is. That's very interesting. Because that one, I didn't bring that up before, but that caught my attention anyway, because it's so close to the sun, which is also representative of her in this 830 chart.
Yeah. And the next day at like 10:30, we're looking at these charts, Chiron's at like 10 degrees. It's even closer.
Yep.
So yeah, it's interesting. That's the line it's on in the 5th house of children and having fun. And
have you I'm not sure that I've noticed Chiron coming up much in the lines. Have you noticed it before?
I have not. I've not noticed it coming up on as far as mapping.
It's kind of interesting. You know, I wonder, this sounds kind of weird. I wonder if this has anything to do with like the mythology at all. Like Chiron's, you know, his first wound being born and kind of being tossed aside for being a centaur, right? But it's the birth thing. And I realized that there had she lived, she wouldn't have been tossing her child aside. I'm not implying that at all. But it is like the birth thing. There is like a thing about birth that does tie to Chiron's mythology that I don't know. I wonder if that ties in at all here.
Oh, I think so. I think it all applies. Absolutely. And then you also got Chiron in the sign of really having to be grown up, having to be the authority figure, having to go by rules, having to be disciplined. And it's a sign of restriction.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you think, just curious, could this be our motive?
I think it could be. Yeah. I think so.
Yeah.
I think it could be.
So yeah, interesting. The map follows.
Yeah. It is. That makes me want to like pay, like kind of keep since Chiron isn't really used much in this, it kind of makes me want to not necessarily focus, but make sure to, I don't know, bring it in.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm actually thinking of a case I want to look at to see if Chiron is a thing here. It has to do with children being involved, but yeah, stay tuned. We'll look at
stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Might be coming up here soon. So yeah, whose birth chart do you want to look at first?
You want to look at Blondie?
Yes, I do. Okay, hold on. That's Laci's. Let me grab his. I had it up and then, sorry guys, just bear with me. Mars will be moving faster soon and I'll be doing I'll be doing a lot.
Luckily it started scooting along.
Whew. A couple more days, it'll be boogieing. Okay. Let's pull up Scott Peterson's chart. All right, here we go. Scott Peterson, and this has a pretty good rating on birth time, so I think we got the right chart here. October 24th, that's my daughter's birthday. Yikes. I'm kidding. It's a lot of people's birthday, but Sag rising.
That's actually the day that I picked for electional work. Thought somebody should get married.
Oh, really?
That date. Yeah, like recently, I wouldn't even pay attention to that earlier when I was looking at this chart. I was like,
Hey, October 24th is a beautiful day for most people.
yeah.
Unfortunately, this was a day Scott Peterson was born. And
Yes. Yes.
Sag rising. Look at the Scorpio sun in the 12th house.
Yeah. And then that Neptune right on the ascendant.
Yeah.
Now I want to be okay. Like with this, like it does depend on the whole chart, but this to me screams this is somebody who hides.
Yes. Okay. we got Neptune and we got a moon in Gemini, chameleon.
Yes. Yes. This is yeah, I mean, like I would not make that statement about somebody that just had Neptune rising or somebody that just had the sun in the 12th house. My son's in the 12th house. So
and I have a moon in Gemini. Shit. I'm a moon in Gemini. So we are both one of these.
But he's got a lot of stuff in his chart where it's like there's hiding. Shit, was he going through his Saturn return when this?
Yes, let me verify. Yeah, because Saturn was at 25 degrees. Let me make sure. Yes, it was at 25 degrees in retrograde. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'd say I feel like he failed that test.
Yeah.
Like there's clearly going to be some kind of test with relationships, with that Saturn in the 7th, but
yes. Now, Saturn in the 7th is interesting. A lot of times when you have Saturn in the 7th or a Saturn ruled sign on the 7th, like a 7th house in Capricorn, Aquarius, a lot of these natives really try and be careful. Not for everybody, but a lot of them do better waiting to get married until after the Saturn return.
Yeah. Yes. No. I've seen that too. Like, well, and I mean, they used to consider the Saturn return like the actual entry into adulthood.
Mm-hmm.
It was, and it's like, how do you? This isn't universal for everybody, but I know exactly what you mean. Like,
yeah, because it's
you
a
might know what. Yeah.
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 Now, Saturn in the 7th house isn't bad for marriage for everybody. I believe Linda McCartney had Saturn in the 7th, and she had a long marriage to Paul McCartney until she died. So, like, not for everybody. Like glue. What's that?
Yeah, it could be like a gluing.
Yes, stability.
It could. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it doesn't have to be
a shit show.
No, it does not. This guy just made it one. But it didn't have to go that. It didn't have to go that way.
Did not. So yeah. I don't know a whole lot about his family because it's just been so long since I at the time of the trial, I think they went into some of that, but a lot of time, not for everybody, but a lot of times sun in the 12th can be kind of an emotional detachment from dad or not having the father present as much as someone would like. I wonder if that was going on.
I can definitely attest to that myself. With the 7 and the 12th, my dad was not around. So I yeah,
that's tough. Yeah. So makes me wonder, he just didn't have the example, or.
Yeah, he may not have. I mean, even if his dad was around, he may not have. Yeah, he just may not have been real present, real available, even, or
not an excuse, just kind of going what's going on in the background,
Yeah.
And that North Node in Capricorn in the 2nd house, karmic direction in this life, learning to have stability and security, coming from probably a place of anxiety. I wonder if this guy was super anxious.
Yeah, he might. And another. This is something that I have noticed about the South Node in the 8th. Kind of in any kind of a, really, we talk about any sign. There's and I will be careful when I say this because I realize this is not everybody, but I do come across it a lot where it seems like they come into this lifetime, there's chaos and turmoil and crisis and turmoil. And it's like they have to, the person has to kind of learn how to get out of that. Now with his in Cancer, right? His South Node in Cancer, this definitely makes me think of family shit. And perhaps even creating it, because sometimes, you know, you can be, and I'm not blaming anybody that does this or trying to talk shit or anything like that. But it's like when you become comfortable with turmoil or with crisis, or when you become comfortable with this, it can be hard to function without it. And I find that the South Node in the 8th house, oftentimes there is something with that. Mm-hmm. That the person then has to kind of learn how to get comfortable in other ways, you know, like real comfort, you know, real comfort.
That's interesting. Yeah, I see exactly. And you see that too, just when someone has strong 8th house placements, like a sun or stelliums there, they can tend to come from that. And a lot of ways to heal it is by helping other people in crisis, or the energy kind of opposite. So yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
Did you get a dog?
No, that's the person next door. Sorry about that. No, sometimes his dog will go off when I'm like giving readings to people in the store, and I'm like, oh shit. Because I don't want to be like, stop. It's not my dog. I'm not, you know, I want to yell at somebody else's dog.
Sorry, sidebar. I was like, when did you get a dog? Okay. So yeah. And then one other thing I'll point out about Scott Peterson's chart, Venus in Virgo. Yes. Venus and detriment. Now that doesn't mean everybody with this cheats around, but that's a tough sign to have Venus in.
Yeah. And it also, I mean, it's kind of a slightly different thing, but that Mars Uranus conjunction in Libra, I don't. Yeah, I mean, yeah, they're just some
in the 11th, in that 11th.
Yeah. And then Chiron in the 5th. Makes me think that like those impulses were probably wounding to him. That's kind of what it feels like anyway.
Yeah. I'm wondering if, I don't even know if I should say it. I'm wondering if there's certain addictions going on here.
Like beyond like, do you think when you say addiction, you mean like sex addiction, or do you mean like something else?
I mean like
sex addiction.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think that's possible. I mean, with the chart, with just what we know of.
Yeah, with what we know about him. Yeah. I wouldn't say that just like anyone who had this birth chart and I didn't, you know, I wouldn't be like, oh, knowing what we know, seeing some of these lineups in the chart just, makes me kind of come to that conclusion.
Yeah. He could, and you know, if he did, she may have known about it. Maybe that's why she not put up with it, but kind of, you know, because from what I understand, it seems like he had like there were a few people before this one. And I don't know if I think to myself, like if your spouse was like, I have a problem, right, or whatever, you might be more likely to stay, and you know what I mean, and want to try to help or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah. Let's look at her chart.
Okay.
Let's see what's going on with Laci. There we go. Okay. I don't know if you can see it, Paul. Let me try to.
Not all the way.
Yeah, I didn't think so. Let me adjust it. Okay, Laci Peterson's birth chart also rated very high, so it should be a pretty accurate time. Born 4:44 a.m. on May 4th. Thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Aries rising. She has a traditional lineup of houses.
She does. With her chart ruler in the 12th.
Yes.
Which feels very like what's the word I'm looking for? Absorbing.
Yeah.
Even though it's Mars, it's Mars and Pisces, and yeah.
Yeah.
Like absorbing.
You know, a lot of times you have a chart ruler in the 4th. It's really about, it can be a lot of things, but these people can be intuitive, or it can be really about trying to find life's mysteries out, or you can go into the healing. It could be someone who, especially in Pisces, there, someone who's very sympathetic, empathic. Could be someone who could also have some anxiety or some anxiousness as well. It's a lot of energy going into something you can't see.
Yeah, could be. Yeah.
She got Pluto in the 7th.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, not everybody has Pluto in the 7th will get murdered by their spouse. Let me put that, but I just want to say, though, it's knowing the outcome of this and what happened to her, that's very interesting.
Yeah, it is. Because that's like, and it would be, I mean, it would be conjunct the descendant too, which makes it even, which feels like it amplifies, like, the power that it has there.
And I've seen this in some charts, because I've actually done readings. I'll just say it, I don't care. I did a reading for Adam Ant's ex-wife, and like she had Pluto there, like attracting kind of like powerful people, or people who kind of were intense people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it could have just gone that, that way for her too.
Yeah. It can just mean different things, and then she's got Saturn in the 4th house. What do I want to say here? I almost feel like there's more challenges in her life than probably what she led on. I think she probably had a really good attitude. She did seem like a really happy, optimistic person. But yeah, it kind of seems like some maybe things going on that could be tough.
Yeah. Yeah. Because Saturn in the 4th doesn't feel particularly easy or in Cancer either.
She got that moon in Aquarius. One thing I do remember, she had a lot of friends, and that moon is placed in the 11th house of friendships. I remember her having a ton of friends and having such good relationships with those people. And I just remember that stuck out to me at the time. So that really makes sense.
That does. That does.
Anything else you want to look at with her chart?
Let me see. Chiron is angular in her chart. It's in the 1st. That just kind of it's in an angular house, but it does stand out with Chiron seeming to be important in the mapping.
Yeah, I'm a Chiron in the 1st house native. And
are you?
Yeah, it can manifest. Mine's in Taurus, so a little different energy here, but definitely I don't know, like just having to kind of heal from like how you see yourself, have sometimes it can not so much confidence, but like physical appearance, these sorts of things. Identity.
Yeah. No, I could totally see how Yeah.
Yeah.
I think hers could have to do with independence.
It could. Learning how to be independent, especially in Aries.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
Or and perhaps like the like an I like I having an identity that she's not like not quite as much as she actually was. Like do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I'm trying to I'm making sense.
no, you are that could be very much a Chiron in the first house, having to learn to go about things on your own and having hard lessons about that, yeah. I just noticed something. I want to go back to Scott Peterson's chart just real fast, because I missed this when we were looking at it. There we are. His 7th house is in Gemini, ruled by Mercury in the 12th. And not every time, but a lot of times this is loss of a partner, because 12th house is loss, which can be death. It can be loss, means a lot of things. It can mean your spouse leaving you, or it can mean actual death or something, some sort of heavy loss with a partner.
You're right. That's interesting.
That is interesting.
Yeah,
I just wanted to point that out.
That is very interesting.
That always puts me in a philosophical crisis. Like, how planned out is life?
Do we have any choice at all? Kind of thing.
But find that interesting. So there you go. That's the forensics around Laci Peterson. We actually went to a little birth chart reading too, so you got a little bonus there. Whew, it's a heavy case.
It is a heavy case.
Yeah. And for those who don't know, Scott Peterson was convicted, actually got the death penalty, but then I believe in 2021, the death penalty for him got overturned because something to do with juror selection. And so it got converted to a life sentence, which I think death penalty in California is equal to a life sentence anyway. But
yeah, because they hadn't actually executed anyone there for a while, right?
They rarely do. Yeah, I think their appeals process is pretty lengthy. So
yeah.
So he is in prison for the rest of his life, convicted. So yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that's exactly where he should be. I have no problem saying that.
So, well, thank you, Ellie. I appreciate you looking at this one again. If anyone wants to leave comments on anything they notice in the charts, let us know what chart you're looking at and what you see. Let us know what you think. I mean, unless it's like you use too many bad words and I'm a better astrologer than you.
I so badly wanted to respond with, ma'am, this is a Wendy's.
Some people aren't nice in their comments. If you don't like me, it's okay. You don't have to comment. We're totally fine.
Yeah, but I mean, like, if you have stuff that you want to add, like about the case, or by all means, we'd love to hear that.
And I love that, because a lot of the videos we do, someone will say, hey, I've studied this case and I know this, and it might be something we don't know. And I love that. I just love when people contribute to the information. Yeah,
that shit is totally appreciated. Like 100% appreciated. that absolutely is.
Yeah.
It's some of the other ones. It's like, why?
I know. My feelings get hurt when you call me names, guys. I don't like it. Like, let's not do that.
Yeah.
So
let's not call names.
But leave us your comments. If you like this video, give us a like, subscribe to our channels. Ellie, tell everyone where they can find you.
You can find me on YouTube at Let's F with Astrology. This is why I'm kind of like, ma'am, you're at a Wendy's, because like my name, like the name of YouTube channel. I mean, I'm not really sure what you think you're gonna get.
We're not gonna redo it. We're not gonna clean it up. Like,
no.
I've talked this way too long to change that habit. But
yeah. You can also find me on Instagram at Saturn Season Astrology, and my website is saturnseason.com. And where can you be found, since this will eventually be posted online too?
I can be found at my name, Brandy Burrow Astrology.com, and on YouTube and Instagram, Brandy Burrow Astrology. So yeah, find us. Both do readings. Like, yeah, we can take care of you guys.
Absolutely can.
All right. Thanks, Ellie.
Thank you.